Hey everyone, I know you're busy looking for the llama head on your new island, but you may have noticed that some of the Easter eggs from the main island didn't make it over, like the llama shack. So in this video, I'll show you how to build your own llama shack just like the one you may have found in your original world. This build will be done with free parts that you already have, but stick around because I'll show you how you can upgrade it into a custom functional outpost and what you can do with a little creativity and customization. I will share a template at the end that you can use as a blueprint for where everything goes, so follow along if you want to learn how to build your own custom llama shack. In the grind to uncover the map of my export world, I came across quite a few Easter eggs. Some of them are more common, like the football field and the Easter Island heads. Others are a bit rarer, like the bunker door, the Durburger head, or the nightmare shark. Llama shack is also pretty rare, and there's probably only one on your island. I found mine far away from my villages, and since I need this masterpiece in all my villages, I decided to recreate it. The llama shack is built from parts in the starter shack set, but not all of the pieces are available in our build menus. The 16 stud walls are the same size, but they have a different pattern on them, so I'll substitute them with the ones we have. The pillars for the legs are smaller than the ones that LEGO Fortnite gave us, but I've come up with a substitution that will work. The first thing you'll want to do is pick a location for the llama. For this tutorial, I chose a spot over top of an arch in my dry valley, as it makes the perfect lookout. The location only needs to be 20 studs wide by 32 studs long to fit the legs. Next, I'll set up a launch pad and a bed so I can move around easier and sleep through the nights. Plus, there's a good chance I'll fall to my death at least once and need a nearby spawn location. I will use the build menu filter to select a simple shack set, as those are the only parts we'll need for the original version of this build. By coincidence, this rock formation lines up with the world direction, but if you need llama to point a different direction, you can check out my tutorial on how to build in any direction. To start, let's use the shack pillar 1 for setting the legs. Place the first pillar where you want one of the back legs and snap it to the ground with the two arms pointing forward and towards the opposite side of the llama. Using the same pillar, turn it 90 degrees, snap off the inside of the first leg so they're lined up, and nudge it all the way over to the other side, which should leave 16 stud space between the two legs. To get the correct spacing for the front legs, which are 30 studs forward from the back legs, I'll snap the 16 stud long flooring to the bottom of the pillar and nudge it until it lines up with the back. I'll snap a second piece of flooring to the first one, so the distance is 30 studs forward. Select the pillar again and repeat what we did with the back legs, making sure they're in line with the back legs and that all of the arms are pointing forward and inward. To fill out the legs, select the shack wall 2 and place the cursor on the bottom side of the forward pointing arm. Nudge it up against the pillar. Repeat this step for all 4 legs. Next, select shack wall 1 and do the same thing on all 4 legs, but this time on the bottom side of the inward pointing arms. Move to the back and select the 16 stud wide half wall 2 and use the snap function to set it on top of the legs directly in the center. Now, select the shack wall 1 and snap 1 on each side of the half wall. Move to one side and select either of the 16 stud wide shack wall 5 or 6 and place it on top of the forward facing arm of the back leg. Next to this, we'll be connecting 3 sections of half wall. First, the 16 stud wall gets snapped to the wall we just placed, followed by the 8 stud wall and ending with the 2 stud wide wall at the front corner. Now, move to the opposite side and repeat this in reverse. It's a good idea to swap between the large 16 stud wide walls throughout the build, so llama looks like it's organically falling apart and not too symmetrical. Once the other side is complete, use half wall 1 to close up the front of the bottom row. Move back to the side and select the 12 stud wide shack wall 4 and place it on top of the half wall at the very back, nudging it up against the back wall, and place one of the large 16 stud wide walls in front of it. Move around to the other side and repeat this so both sides look the same. Now we'll move up top and place some flooring inside. Select the 16 by 16 wide shack floor 2 and use the snap feature to align it with the bottom of the back wall and nudge it forward 8 spaces. Snap it in place and then add a second piece in front of it. We'll leave the back open for now so there's a way out if we fall inside. To finish up the back end of the llama, use the shack corner half wall and place 2 on each side of the lower half wall, leaving 8 studs between them for the tail. Navigate to the roofing menu and select the 8 stud wide shack roof 2 and place it in the gap extending backwards. Use shack half wall 1 and snap it on the other end of the tail to finish it up. To make the slope for llama's butt, place either the left or right gable piece on top of the corresponding wall and nudge it forward against the taller wall. Snap a large 16 stud wide shack roof 3 to the gable and then close up the other end with the opposing gable part. To build the neck, select another of the large shack walls and stack it directly on top of the forwardmost wall. Then place a wide half wall on top of that one. Move to the opposite side and repeat these steps. Move to the front of llama and place the first large wall piece on top of the half wall that's already in place, and nudge it forward 2 spaces so it lines up with the corners of the side walls. Add another full height wall on top of that, followed by the full width half wall. To finish off the back of the neck, use the same combination of a full-size large wall and a half wall on top of that. They should be set in between the side walls so they line up with the corners. Now you can fill in the roof. It doesn't matter what flooring you use here, but the space is an odd shape of 20 by 14 studs. I used a piece of 2 by 12 on each side of the walls, followed by 2 8 by 8 sections to cover the majority of the hole, and then a couple 2 by 16 pieces to close in the gap. For the last strip, I used a 2 by 12 and a 2 by 8 to finish it up. For the head, center another large full wall on top of the back wall. On each side, use a shack window to create the eyes. For the floor, use a piece of 2 by 16 flooring and place it directly on top of the front wall. Close up the rest of the floor using 2 8 by 8 pieces and a couple 2 by 16 pieces. For the front wall, pick one of the large full walls again and use the snap function to align it with the flooring so it overhangs by 2 spaces, and place a 2 by 2 wall in each corner to fill it in. On each side of the face, use a 2 by 4 wall to extend out and give it some depth. To form the ears, use the same 2 by 4 wall and place one on each side of the head in the back corners. Extend them out by snapping a 2 by 2 wall to each ear. To finish off the top of the head, use a 16 by 16 piece of flooring and 3 2 by 16 flooring to cap off the top of the walls. Now, the only thing left to do is use a couple 8 by 8 flooring pieces to close up the hole we left in the belly, and you have an almost identical replica of the Llama Shack Easter egg. I love the look of Llama, but in its current form it's just an art piece. If you want to turn it into a usable structure, we need to add some stairs and change out the broken walls to make it a little less drafty. To get into Llama, I removed the 8 by 8 flooring at the back and placed a couple half-height stairs at 90 degrees to each other. Since there are no half-height stairs in the simple shack set, I went with the Sugi stairs from the Shogun Palace set. If you've purchased a Lion Knight bundle, you can use the steep Noble stairs, which also look great and fit in between the legs without need for a landing. There's not much room inside a llama, so instead of trying to show you the steps from the inside, I've made a cutaway version using checker plate flooring so it's easier to see what's going on. To get to the head, I started with a full height set of stairs up to an 8 by 8 landing, and then went back and forth with half height stairs and a piece of 2 by 8 flooring to fill in the gap. Once at the head, I broke out the floor and left just one side covered. Make sure that the topmost stairs are set just under the floor and flush at the bottom, or you'll have to duck to get under the floor. The next thing you can do to make it a little cozier is replace the broken shack walls with solid walls. But since there's no 16 stud wide shack walls that aren't broken, you need to use a combination of 4 and 12 stud wide walls or 2 8 stud wide walls. Adding a door at the back of Llama allows for a nice spot for a patio. You can also remove the front of the face and place a half wall to create a better lookout point. Once done, you'll have a sturdier looking llama, but it doesn't have as much character as the broken down shack did. This can be easily remedied if you've completed the Star Wars village and have the Rebel survival parts. Instead of replacing the broken shack walls with solid walls, you can use some of the cool looking Rebel walls and windows. My favorites are the Rebel shack corners and walls with louvers, and all of the windows look great. Bust out the walls you want to replace and add different combinations of these walls around Llama. The Rebel shack vented window with the round trim makes a perfect eye on each side. And shack window 2 with a large opening adds a clean look to the front of the face for a better view of the surrounding area. Now all the Llama shack needs are some furnishings and to add accessories to the outside, like a deck and staircase spiraling up the rock pillar to make it feel more like a fortress hideaway. I put together this Llama approved schematic using contrasting color parts to show you where each of the pieces goes. Sometimes it helps me to visualize things better when I draw them out. I've tried to illustrate the different heights and widths of each part. You don't need to build exactly like this, so try experimenting and using parts that look good together. For example, Peely Llama uses parts from the Nana Jungle set, but there are no half walls, so I use Pleasant Park parts, but the pattern looks better if I made the bottom row full height and moved the half height walls up a row. Beachy Llama and Tomato Temple Llama don't have a long sloping roof, so I extended the back and used a shorter roof. Play around and see what you come up with. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and have fun building your own llamas. If you made it this far and feel I've earned it, I'd appreciate your like and subscription. If you'd like to support me even more and will be purchasing something from the item shop like the new build kits, you can also use my creator code. Thanks again and enjoy the build. I hope to see a lot of llamas out there.